What's up, y'all? I'm J.Max. Welcome back to my channel. This is J.Max Reax. And today I'm watching a video by Honest that says the era of Justin Bieber copycats. Let's see what he says.
Bieber mania was one of the most palpable pop culture phenomenons of the thousands and 2010s. Justin Bieber's rise to success would inspire many other acts who not only mirrored his marketability, but his come-up story as well. Justin Bieber is one of the most notable pop stars to be discovered on YouTube. His rise also coincided with the digital and singles era of music, firmly cementing himself as a trailblazer and one of the most recognizable figures in the music industry of his time. Despite many hits and some misses from Justin, I think one thing he doesn't really get enough credit for is his longevity. When Justin Bieber first made impact on the scene, it would have been fairly easy to write him off as a fad. Historically, the industry and public has not been kind to child stars growing up. And although he's faced his many troubles, Justin Bieber has managed to transform his child stardom into a long-lasting career with sustained popularity. Justin Bieber took the world by storm when he was just a prepubescent boy, and his rise would spawn many imitators that were often called the next Justin Bieber by the media. Whether they had a lack of a compelling narrative, unlike the young Canadian boy raised by a single mother turned into a star by posting videos on YouTube, or was just eclipsed by the towering success of Justin, very few resonated as well as him, and very few pop stars in general have been able to attain his longevity. Shawn Mendes. Shawn Mendes' rise mirrored Bieber's very closely, so there was no way they wouldn't be compared or the similarities wouldn't be noticed. Both young Canadian boys who got their start by posting covers on the internet. Shawn's platform of choice was Vine, and he quickly became one of the most popular music acts on the app. Shawn saw Justin as a huge inspiration, and in fact gained buzz by covering Bieber's As Long As You Love Me. Shawn would go on to have breakout hits like Stitches and Treat You Better. He also allegedly dated Justin Bieber's now wife, Hailey Bieber. So these two have intersected in many ways. Justin Bieber and Shawn would have a bit of tension in the media. When an interviewer asked Bieber about Shawn Mendes, Bieber responded by saying, "Who is Shawn Mendes?" Which many people took as shade due to their comparisons. Shawn responded gracefully by saying, "We haven't met, but I guess he just doesn't know. I'm definitely a fan. I looked up to him for a while, but I guess he just doesn't know who I am. We'll have to let him know." As Shawn's career grew, I would say he definitely strayed further away from the Bieber comparisons.
Right.
It seemed as if he was aiming to be a male Taylor Swift or an artist in the vein of Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
But Bieber clearly laid the groundwork for how he would jumpstart his career. Justin and I were never enemies. We were maybe not friends, Shawn said of his relationship with Justin. In 2020, both Canadian stars would unite and forsake all the media speculation. The song they collaborated on is called Monster and talks about the pressures of fame, something both of them would achieve at a very young age. Austin Mahone. Similar to Bieber, Austin Mahone got his start by doing covers on YouTube. And similar to Shawn Mendes, he got a lot of traction when covering some of Justin Bieber's music, notably Bieber's Christmas song, Mistletoe, and was inspired by Justin. Austin would become increasingly popular amongst the youth, after getting signed and achieving a few moderate hits. And like Shawn Mendes, was an opening act for Taylor Swift. He even won Artist to Watch at the VMAs. Bieber and Mahone got along well, and were constantly photographed hanging out. Austin did, however, express his grievances with the comparisons to Justin Bieber. I can kind of see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's kind of obnoxious. They see a young kid who sings and dances, and they're like, "Oh, another Justin Bieber."
They do.
Like, you don't even know. You don't even know me.
Exactly.
You don't know my music. You're just making assumptions. To be honest, though, his music was up the same alley as Justin's. And obviously, he was a massive fan of Justin, so the comparisons weren't unfounded. But to be fair, he was a young artist, and younger acts don't tend to have the most control over their image and music.
They don't.
Maybe at the time he genuinely felt he had more to offer than Bieberification. As he grew in his career, he would gain traction in Japan. He would release his debut album and an EP to the Japanese music market. Somewhere along the lines, Mahone and his label quietly parted ways, and he still releases music independently and runs an OnlyFans account. In 2020, he gained the ownership of his masters with the help of Pitbull, who's apparently his mentor. Mahone has allegedly made upwards of $5 million due to the ownership of his masters.
I'm sure he has.
So he seems to be doing well for himself. Nonetheless, I feel his career, particularly as a kid, kind of serves as a prime example of a megastar you're clearly marketed after, just covering all the bases of what that niche requires, and frankly overshadowing those who came up in a similar vein after them. Cody Simpson. Cody Simpson was Australia's answer to Bieber.
Okay.
He got his start posting covers on YouTube, as well as his original songs. And so the story goes, he was signed, and while he never had a breakout moment in the USA, he did have some success throughout Europe and in his home country, Australia, with songs like I and All Day. Simpson would also come to hire Justin Bieber's manager, Scooter Braun, to guide his career. He would serve as the opening act on Bieber's Believe tour, but in 2014 would leave Warner Music due to creative differences. Bieber and Simpson quietly released a collab in 2015 titled Home to Mama. It's safe to say Cody's team was really gunning hard to help him gain traction. Cody has since continued to release music independently, which strays away from the Bieber sound he began his career with.
Right.
His music is much more acoustic and surfers driven, which is on theme, considering that Cody Simpson is a swimmer and has been training to compete in the 2024 Olympics. Ryan Beatty. I'm sure you guys have picked up on the reoccurring theme by now. Ryan got his start by covering songs on YouTube. He released a few songs that gained him traction, but halted his career right in its tracks, fired his management, and spent years away discovering himself. Ryan would later come out as gay, stated that his image as a straight teen heartthrob basically limited him. He also had frustrations with the very little input he had in his own music. By 2017, though, he would rebrand and begin collaborating with Brockhampton. He also would make an appearance on Tyler the Creator's critically acclaimed body of work, Igor, doing backgrounds on the song titled I Think. Ryan has continued to release music, most notably his debut album, 2018's Boy in Jeans, and seems to have finally gotten to an artistic place that he's proud of. He's had one of the most drastic reinventions from Bieberification. Grayson Chance. Grayson Chance is probably most remembered for his viral cover of Lady Gaga's Paparazzi, which catapulted him to overnight stardom, attracting over 70 million views and receiving a lot of media coverage. He was a bit of an outlier because he was a piano player and had a bit of a different approach to music than his peers. But nonetheless, the Bieber comparisons were present. He was the first artist signed to Ellen's label, 1111. He released one album under Ellen's label, and even had a music video with Ariana Grande for his song Unfriend You. But he never quite managed to score a breakout moment with his original music. Behind the scenes, Chance will reveal that he was struggling with his sexuality, and he came out in 2017. He later admitted that at 18, he left music altogether. Things weren't going too well for me. I wasn't happy, and I made the decision to go to college. I completely gave up on music, he said. In 2019, he would release his comeback album titled Portraits, and due to Grayson's independent success, he was signed to Arista Records. Justin Bieber undeniably laid a path for some young male pop stars to follow, coming up in the digital age. And although he initially had many imitators, his rise in popularity remained singular. Becoming a household name as a child star, without a Disney or Nickelodeon machine backing you, was not at all common at the time of Justin's rise. And even through his infamous and controversial years, from drugs to peeing in buckets, which easily could have cost him his career as a child star, his grip remained firm.
So that was a really awesome one. Shout out to Honest. The title of that one threw me out because I was like, there were Bieber copycats, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right, I see it. But I think for me, I became a fan of most of these guys, except those last two, like Ryan and Grayson. I didn't know who they were, but I became more a fan of Sean and Cody and Austin. I guess maybe after the rebranding and the shit thing. Well, no. Austin, I think I definitely listened to him in his younger years as well. But he messed around in like 2018 and started coming out with some bangers. He had this one song that I still playlist and listen to this day. It's called I Don't Believe You. Love that song. Cody Simpson has a song called Underwater that I love, and it's completely different than anything Bieber has ever. It's not in his Bieber era or whatever they call it, Bieberfication. And then of course we know who Shawn Mendes is. Like, you cannot, not like Shawn Mendes. I mean, you can not like him, but I don't dislike him. I like his music, like his voice. I do think they all have distinctive voices. They don't really sound like Bieber to me. So this was interesting because I was like, I guess maybe I just didn't see it that way. I was like, this is a different artist. I try not to see people in the likeness of other people. That's like calling every white rapper that comes in the game the new Eminem, which makes no sense to me. Because seriously, he can't be touched in that realm. I think people may have come close, but can't touch Eminem. I don't think any other white singer is gonna be able to touch Bieber. Like, his impact is just there. All the craziness, like you said, and all of the great things, and even his most recent situation, that's so sad to see. But he will forever be Justin Bieber. You know what I mean? There's no other person I think comes close to it. One that never gets mentioned, but I did actually see it when it was happening live. The UK's Justin Bieber, Conor Maynard. That guy is incredible. I love his voice. And I kept thinking to myself, like, he's not Justin Bieber. He's so soulful. And so, being flat out honest, he can sing better. You know what I mean? And his influences, I think, were mostly like Usher and Timberlake, which I guess I could see why people would think, Bieber. But the sound that he created was so different. It was more urban. It was more R&B. It wasn't urban pop. It was soul and R&B. I challenge y'all to go listen to him if you haven't. He's super incredible. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this one. Let me know what you thought about it below. Comment, like, subscribe. Until next time. Peace.